Hey, good morning. This is Tuesday's devotion. I want to end this section about grace. All this talk against legalism and the justification by faith, our salvation or Christ is more than enough for our salvation and for our life, would cause some to think that, well, almost that I'm advocating liberalism. I'm not advocating liberalism or legalism. I do want to spend the last moments of this particular talk about grace to talk about the other element of grace. So let me turn to Romans chapter 6, verses 1 and following. So what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? Or do you not know that as many of us as were baptized into Christ Jesus were baptized into his death? Therefore we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. For if we have been united together in the likeness of his death, certainly we also shall be in the likeness of his resurrection, knowing this, that our old man was crucified with him, that the body of sin might be done away with, that we should no longer be slaves of sin. And so when we come to Romans chapter 6, and we quickly realize that though legalism has no part in a Christian life, liberalism doesn't either. Remember, they're the same coin, just different sides. There's no way for me to, I don't run to the law, but at the same time, I don't run towards sin. Grace sets me free. God's work, grace, grace doesn't abound where there's more sin. I don't go about sinning more so that I can get more grace. It doesn't work that. No, I have died to self. A work of God has been done in my life, and I am to live a certain way. Let me give you the 3 D's, the letter D, the 3 D's that I use to help me understand the theology of Paul from Romans. You see, the first 3 chapters of Romans, Paul talks about the deception of man. Romans 1, he talks about that deception is everywhere among all men. In chapter 2 and 3, he talks about how that deception is found in not only Gentiles, but also in Jews. There's a deception. And that deception that is found is that for none are righteous. No, not one. No, not one is righteous. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Both Jews and Gentiles. None are righteous. So we shouldn't be deceived about our righteousness. Now, listen to me very carefully. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are primarily, hear the word, primarily focused on revealing this theology of righteousness that was false righteousness, that was either by that of the Gentiles or by the Jews, that was focused in the law, which would have either been by the righteousness of works in creating a religion and worship of some God, or that of the Jews of worshiping the law. None are righteous. So the first D of Romans chapters 1 through 3 are about do not be deceived. None are righteous. But then in chapter 4, going from chapter 4 to chapter 5, he talks about this justification by faith that Abraham and all believers have. And so in chapter 5, he makes this declaration in verse 19. For as by one man's disobedience or unrighteousness, which would be Adam, many were made sinners or unrighteous, so also by one man's obedience or righteousness, which would be Jesus, many will be made righteous. Chapters 1, 2, 3 is a is about the deception of all man in trying to reach God through various means, either through idolatry or the law, and they're all sinners. But there's something happens in chapter 4 and 5. For Paul, that is the Damascus Road experience. For you and for me, it was there at the kitchen table with my grandparents. Salvation comes, a face-to-face conversation, a face-to-face salvation with Jesus Christ, where the work of Christ makes me righteous. And that word, as Martin Luther brought out, where the righteousness is reckoned or granted or declared. By the work of Christ, I am presented to the Father as righteous. I am declared righteous to the Father. That's the second D. So you need to understand that once salvation comes to me, once the righteousness that is imputed unto me, once I am presented to the Father through Jesus Christ and made righteous, I can't go back to chapter 1, 2, and 3. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 was about who I was. There was a period of time when I was deceived about righteousness. And every time I turn to the law, I am declaring that I am deceived about righteousness. Anytime I try to create God in my own image, I'm deceived. But see, when Christ comes, chapter 4 and 5, a work of God is done in my life. Well, there's 16 chapters in the book of Romans. And beginning with chapter 6 to the other end, Paul shares with us, God shares with us the third D of righteousness. And this is what it is. Though I once was deceived, He has declared or made me righteous. Those that He has made or declared righteous, He demands righteousness from them. That's the third D. And the rest of the book of Romans is about God's demand that we no longer be servants to sin, but servants to righteousness. In chapter 6, verse 18, having been set free from sin or unrighteousness, you became slaves of righteousness. You see, the grace of God is not to be mocked or dirty. My salvation is not a freedom to do whatever I want, to live whatever I want. At the same time, the grace of God does not mean I return to the law either. The grace of God is to be lived in, put to live in under the umbrella of Christ and His righteousness. It is true, a Christian does live differently. Not because of the law that he is trying to keep, but as Jesus would say, the new commandment. He loves the Lord thy God with all his heart, with all his strength, with all his soul, with all his mind. And he loves his neighbor. In other words, love becomes the new law, the new commandment. It is loving Him first. And because I love Him first, I strive to please Him. And because He loves others, I strive to love others. Though I am free, as Corinthians would say, I am no longer in bondage to anything. All things are acceptable, as he would say, but not all things are helpful or expedient. Not all things help me, nor help others. If I choose to follow a law, it is not in order to keep my salvation or to gain salvation or to make my salvation better. If I choose to follow a law, it is because I am striving to follow Christ. Those laws look different than legalism. It's all about love instead of the law. I love you, Stewart's Chapel.